So this is quite the experience this morning. It's not like any Easter that I have ever celebrated before. And I am glad that we are able to gather in whatever way we can. Because, Easter is a time where we celebrate the truth of the resurrecting power of God through the story of Jesus' death and resurrection experience. We come to realize that life is changed, not taken away. And in unity, we believe this resurrecting power pertains to all of us, not just to Jesus, but is there for all life. We see resurrecting to be a verb that is active, that is ongoing, that it's not an event as much as it is a way of living. And in unity, we see that all of us have the ability and the potential to be Easter people, to bring forth the resurrecting power of God into our lives and into our world. And let's face it, our world needs this resurrecting power of God right here and right now. At some point, we're going to have the opportunity to leave this tomb that this pandemic has created, this social distancing, this self-quarantining. The question is, what kind of world will emerge then? This may be the most significant, meaningful Easter season we ever experience. As I said on Thursday, I tend to view Easter more as a retreat time than as a remembrance experience, a time to reflect on my life, a time to reflect on how I'm living my truth, to contemplate my relationship with God, myself, and the world in which I live and move and have my being. I see it as a time to recommit and resurrect this truth in me. And isn't this where we find ourselves now in our world? We're sheltered down, quarantined from each other, forced to slow down and ponder life, to identify what is essential, what is true. Our world is suffering right now. We're grieving right now. The question is, what awaits us? If it's true that things happen for a reason, what is the reason we find ourselves here right now? What was the reason Jesus had to die? I believe it was that he had to die so that he could experience the resurrection that led to his ascension into total oneness with and in God and with us. That his experience transformed the world he lived in, the world we live in. And so as we look at this Easter Day 2020, what can his experience teach us about the experience that we are going through right now? I see Easter as a time for hope, knowing that the story of Easter reveals to us that this is not the end, but an opportunity for us to bring forth new life, new expression as we emerge from the tomb of this pandemic experience. As I practiced contemplative prayer or meditated on the Easter story this year, what stands out for me is a story that we find in the book of John, where Jesus has been laid in a tomb. And while it is still dark, Mary Magdalene is the first to go to the tomb. Now, why does she go there? She goes to prepare the body for final burial, as was the custom in that time. She went as an act of love during her time of grief. But she finds the tomb empty. And she assumes that someone has taken the body. So she goes and gets Peter and another disciple who we assume is John. And they go back to the tomb and they verify, yes, the body is gone. And what do? They go back to their home, where we find out later they are hunkered down in fear. But Mary stays, standing outside the tomb, weeping, grieving, and she sees two angels in white who ask her, "Why are you crying?" And she says, "They have taken away my Lord, and I don't know where they put him." And then she turns around and she sees a presence standing there, but she doesn't recognize the presence right away. And this presence says to her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Now she mistakes this presence for a gardener. And she says, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him." And then the risen Christ says to her, "Mary." And at this point, she recognizes that this is her teacher. And she cries out, "Rabboni," which means teacher. And the risen Christ says to her, "Do not hold on to me, Mary, for I have not yet ascended to my God and to your God." So Mary has witnessed the crucifixion of her teacher Jesus, has seen his body placed in a tomb. The world as she knew it has ended. And in an act of love, she goes to the place where they've placed the body while it is still dark. But she does not find the corpse there. The place is empty. The tomb is empty. She's assumed somebody has taken it. Why would they take it? To serve their own purpose? She's not ready yet to believe in the resurrecting power of God. But she hangs in there and eventually discovers the truth that Christ lives. But the risen Christ tells her not to hold on. You know, what if she had? What if she had tried to hold on? What would have happened? You know, that's the question. What if we try to hold on to that which is dying in our life? What are we going to do? Are we going to be opened up to new life? Or are we going to try to hold on to what was? You know, the truth is, the resurrection is a way of living. But it's up to us to choose to live it. You know, I was reading an article this week that I found very interesting. In fact, so interesting that I posted it on our Facebook page. And you might want to look at it later on. And in the article, there is an interview with a Yale historian, Frank Snowden. And he talks about how we are facing a fork in the road. That we can use coronavirus as a justification to retreat into xenophobia, ethno-nationalism, and tribalism. Or we can use it as an opportunity to build a better, more just world. He goes on to say that pandemics present an unprecedented opportunity for transformational change. That today's tragedy can be tomorrow's possibility. In his book, Epidemics in Society, he explores how infectious diseases throughout history has inspired political reform, transformed entire societies' relationships with God, and fundamentally changed the course of human history. But we must realize it is only an opportunity, that the history of this moment is not yet written. How we respond to the coronavirus will be one of the most important choices in our lifetime. And we do have a choice. You know, Snowden says we're going to have a miserable, deadly period for some time now. But he says after that, we will have a chance to construct a better world. A world that's more scientific, more rational, more humane, more international. And here I would add, more compassionate, more generous, more just. Or we can adopt pseudo-solutions that will condemn us to repeating this experience again and again. You know, Easter is a time of hope. Easter gives me hope in the resurrecting power of God. Now, I say hope. It has not given me faith yet, because I agree the history of this moment has not yet been written. That we are the authors of the world that we will emerge into as we leave the tomb of this pandemic crisis. My hope is that our higher selves will prevail. That we will make the decisions on what is essential, what is true, and that we will seek not to resurrect, not to resuscitate, what was, but to move into the resurrection experience so that we can ascend and become closer to God and to each other. That is the teacher that is calling our name right here. Just as the risen Christ called Mary's name, and she knew that that was her teacher. May we hear the universal Christ that is calling our name right now and know that it is our teacher, and not only our teacher, but our guide into creating a better world for all. A world where we all rise together. God bless you.